Morning all. I've been moaning this morning. I've been moaning the shape of my face. I can't. This is not a face that has any. Look at these glasses. That has any symmetricality. I can't seem to get anything to work right on it. And the older I get, the more I look like Timothy Spall. Now, here, drag queen story time. We're back here again, and I can't believe it. But here we go. Right. So I thought, I was going to do some work around understanding the story of Little Red Riding Hood, which we all know as a particular narrative, which is that don't trust fucking anyone. Right, okay. Because they'll eat your grandmother and they'll eat you. It's a great message. It's what you want to do with kids. You've got to teach kids you distrust everybody. And then gradually they build up an understanding for themselves of who they can and cannot trust. It's a good place to start, and it's been around since about 1697. So it's a fairly archetypal story that sort of crosses geographic and cultural boundaries and can be found in most histories, not least of all in the European histories. It was updated by Brothers Grimm, and it's been updated since then. But the central narrative has remained the same. Which brings me to a film called In the Company of Wolves. No, that's not right. Yes, The Company of Wolves, that's it. Directed by Neil Jordan, who's a tremendous film director who worked quite a lot in the 80s, and he made a few films, not least of all is The Crying Game and Interview with a Vampire. If you remember The Crying Game, shock horror that it was at its time in 1984, where the beautiful erstwhile heroine gets to sleep with the hero and drops her strides, and lo and behold, there's a meat and two veg nestled in a bush. And the whole cinema went, cock! That's when these things were shocking. They were doing it with cheesy films like Sleepaway Camp and stuff like that, but it was the first time that a mainstream film had sort of pulled that kind of joke on the audience. And he did In the Company of Wolves, which I've stuck on my blog with a great review by Mark Commode. It's a superb retelling of Red Riding Hood and various other mythological stories that we know so well from our childhoods, and it's brutally grim and it's incredibly violent, and it's got the marvellous Angela Lansbury, who plays the grandmother, a particularly tall grandmother because she's a particularly tall woman, but yet the story remains the same, which is, careful, even the ones that are smiling. One way smile and be a villain, as Hamlet said. Even the smiling ones can be wolves, right? So that's what I've done. I've stuck it up so you can have a look at it. And it's interesting to me to think that Drag Queen Storytime, which has been unfolding over the last few days and shows no sign of stopping, is that we've got to get our head around the fact that the people that are doing it, this particular bloke, right, he's a sheep. He's not a wolf. Right, okay? The wolf is Drag Queen Storytime stories. Okay? He's a sheep. It's as simple as that, right? Unfortunately, he's not a very nice sheep. That's the problem. So, despite him thinking that he's a wonderful, wonderful person, which he does, he's got a new interview out, by the way, which you have to see to believe. I'll come back to that in a minute. But just to start off with a couple of things, just to get it straight, we've got, they found a tweet of his. This is what happens, isn't it? You do something and then they mine your tweets, which is okay. Fine, you do that, right? But don't go to the library where he is and start screaming paedophile. It's helping no one, because you're locating your anger and ire, and I understand that, but you're locating it at the wrong place. You want to get angry with academia. They're still pushing this shit and churning out English literature and history students that are full of crap. Get angry with academia, right? Because they're the ones that are doing it now. So he said here, as his character, ADHD, right? Are you okay? You've gone quiet, hun. Don't worry. I found your email, actual photo, address, where you went to uni, your husband's name, and place of work online. I'll be sure to let them know and send them these screenshots. Right? What a swine. Right? What a nasty little swine. Not least of all, because it's on Twitter, right? Twitter is a gladiatorial combat arena. If you can't stand the heat, get out. Okay? Twitter is smacky, thumpy. It's where the real Milou starts. If you want rational thought, go elsewhere. You do get it. There's some geniuses on. There's some brilliant stuff on there. But what you don't do is say, right, I'll try and find you and then I'll dox you and it's a really dreadful thing to do no matter who you are. Right? You nasty little troll. Right? So that was the first one. Not happy about that. Right? The second one, it gets worse. I love lesbians. Which ones? Because there's quite a few, if you haven't looked, right, there's lots of them around doing scissoring, the things lesbians do, right? I love lesbians too, but it's a really strange statement. I love some of them. I've met many. Some of them are bastards, right? No matter who you are, you could be a black, disabled, trans lesbian and still be a twat. Right, let's get our heads around that. It's not difficult, right? Okay. I love lesbians. My recent book was about 2 lesbians. Right? I think it was either lesbian hedgehogs or lesbian aardvarks or something, right? For 2. But nobody gets to play gatekeeper to what defines who a lesbian is. Trans women are women. So what he's saying is, I love lesbians, so it's I love everybody. Yeah. You're an idiot. Right? Let's not forget that trans women who love other women are still lesbians. This is him, ADH dick, right? No, they aren't, you wanker. Right, okay? He's a queer theorist, but he's a sheep. He's following. He's not the problem. The problem's academia. Okay? The problem is academia. The problem is the people in charge of the councils who are intensely stupid if they think this is not the wolf. The wolf is not him. The wolf is the message. Okay? So, Exhibit 3 does himself no favours, this boy, right? Exhibit 3. Today I watched a dad buy some trans pride stickers for his little girl. The little girl replied when he asked, what does trans mean? Yo, it's when a girl actually a boy or a boy is actually a girl. Duh. Can you say struggle sessions? Right, okay. And then he responds with, ADHD, and transphobe think this stuff is too complex for children. Come off it, trans pride. Right? He's celebrating the indoctrination of a toddler into the filthy belief system of gender ideology and queer theory, critical social justice, postmodern incarnate. It's the bane of 2022. But he's a sheep. He's not a wolf, right? The wolves are in academia. They're being funded by the government. That's where the noise needs to go. Okay? We need to cut the funding legs off these bastards. Because what you understand is he's 27 years old, this boy, right? And he's only ever been taught to be an activist. When you learn something and you get really good at it, if they say, for example, that you learn the guitar, you begin by imitation. So I might try and play Bye Bye Miss American Pie or whatever the hell it may be. But eventually you should get to the point where you can evaluate and judge the music and then create some of your own. It's like everything. If you make a cake, you start with a recipe until you eventually begin to evaluate, judge, and create your own cakes. When they've taught these young people for the last God knows how many years, the words evaluate, judgment, and create have been removed from the curriculum. They've been removed from how they are taught and replaced with the word activist. He's a sheep. He's not the wolf. So stop bothering him. Because there's no point, right? There's no point. He's indoctrinated. He's not going anywhere. We need to cut this off at its knees, and that's academia and the education system, and we have to get these teachers out because they're not suitable to teach kids, right? He's now done an interview. Talk about digging yourself a deeper hole, Seb, for God's sake. So he's done this interview, and he's lovely. He's a sweet guy, right? He's just stupid, right? It's not that he's a wicked person. He's just stupid. And if you don't think that your kids can get indoctrinated by this, then he's stupid and he's been indoctrinated, but so have professors and people that belong to the Royal Society, which if you've seen my other video, you will know about, right? So this guy is actually stupid. They have said it, okay? In his interview, he states the following. I am a role model for 5-year-olds and a role model for queer children. I am evidence there needs to be more of me. No. You are evidence of a corrupted education system that has fallen to a far leftist doctrine that wants to get their hands on your kids. That's what you are. You're a mouthpiece for an ideology that you do not understand. You are a puppet. A puppet, right? Okay? You are not a role model for 5-year-olds. What? Because you put a dress on? Fuck off. Right? A role model for 5-year-olds is Norman Borlaug. A role model for 5-year-olds is a nurse. A role model for 5-year-olds is an engineer. You are not a role model for 5-year-olds. Stop thinking you are. Okay, you're not. And incidentally, there's no such thing as queer children. You ideologically indoctrinated bum chunderer. Right? So stop your nonsense. I don't get it, because you wouldn't, if you imagine that you're one of these liberal parents who can't tell their ass from their elbow because they're too busy, pretending that they're virtuous and eating cheese boards worth 150 quid when most people have that money to live on in a week. Those lefty liberal types, right? Imagine what's happening with them. They're going in, oh, how woke I am, look to see the dress. You wouldn't go in if they were giving you the far right bullshit. Why are you going in for this? Right, it's not just that it's a safeguarding issue, and he's not a safeguarding issue, he's just an idiot. The safeguarding issue is the subject matter. The safeguarding issue is the philosophy behind all this. And we wouldn't allow people who are completely mad in terms of being a far-right fundamentalist Christian or far-right Islamist or whatever the hell it is you want to say, far-right anything, we wouldn't put them in front of children, but we allow this. It's not just a safeguarding issue, it is also a prevent issue. And that's how it should be treated. It's a prevent issue. Okay? Now, it didn't take me long to have a look and see what his books are about. Go and have a look for yourselves, right? Okay? Queer this, queer that. Critical social justice, critical social justice. And then I find out who his illustrator is, and incidentally, some of her work's absolutely beautiful, but you can see her pain. It screams out of you when you watch her videos. It's absolutely there, the pain. Right? These are damaged people as far as I can see. Her name's Becky, and she's got some really good eye, some beautiful stuff, some great animations there, and she's a they, them. Get out of our libraries and get out of our schools with your absolute mad gender ideology, okay? They're just sheep. They're not the wolves, okay? But it would also behoove us to remember that these wolves are sitting in academia and they're sitting in your schools and they're teaching your children and they're on your school boards, right? They are, okay? And they're in your libraries and they're in your councils and they're in the intelligence services and they're in the army and they're in the civil service. These wokesters, these critical social justice activists. And they've been put there because they were taught to be that by universities. The universities are still teaching that. Each university's got its own fat spider at the middle somewhere. These are the people you should be wary about. And it's difficult, I understand, because you want to go, pedo, because that's easy. You can go, there's the bad guy. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. How do you inoculate children against this when it's so complicated? And when its message is so seductive? How do you inoculate them? I think this will go down as a period in time, if you're looking back 80 or 90, 100 years from now, when the youth were screaming out to us for help and the adults did nothing. Did nothing. Get them out of universities, get them out of every strata of our country, and let's get back to basics. We are not interested in ideological, equity-driven nonsense. That's what we've got to say, and we've got to say it loudly and clearly. And I think it's probably a good idea if we listen to Angela Lansbury's rather wonderful character of the grandmother in Company of Wolves, when she, and the script also says, now as then, 'tis simple truth, the sweetest tongue has sharpest tooth, and some men are hairy on the inside. You keep jesting, folks. You keep jesting.